Hey there, everybody. Today I am going to continue my obsession with charcuterie boards and cutting boards and lazy Susans. So I have mixed up 6 ounces of epoxy resin by Let's Resin in the 1-to-1 ratio, and I put it in the bubble machine here. And after about 5 minutes, the bubbles are almost completely out, and we're ready to pour. So I've got 3 different containers here, actually technically 4 with the little small one on the bottom. And I'm just going to split out most of this resin amongst the 3 larger um, Dixie cups here. I'm going to be using some dark blue mica powder by Let's Resin, a dark blue paste from Temu, gives you beautiful colors, love it. I'm going to add in a little bit of blue dye and a little bit of violet dye. Violet really helps the blues get a really deep, pretty oceanic look. And then some spring green and some sky blue by Let's Resin for the turquoise uh, part of the water. I'll also be mixing some white mica powder into my sand and using the white Alumilite pigment paste. A little bit of glitter. That's all going in the sand. And let's start spreading out some of this resin. So I'm going to need a little bit more resin in the blue container just because I usually have more blue in my ocean versus the turquoise. I'll try to angle this in so y'all can see what I'm doing here. Doing camera work and working at the same time is very tricky. Not always an easy thing to do for sure. So this will be for my blues, my turquoise, my sand, and then in this little cup, I'm going to use the white pigment paste by Alumilite for my waves. Get this out of the way. I need to save some resin for my beach waves. Not the white part of the waves. I'm going to push the white into this clear resin. I'll show you that momentarily. Okay. I'm going to start with the dark blue pigment paste from Temu. This gives a really rich color. This is one of the nicest pigment pastes, honestly. And it wasn't overly expensive. I'm just going to give that a little stir. You can see I've used quite a bit of this already. It's just about gone. And you really use very little. Just a little goes a very long way with this. Trying to scrape that off. Even this might be too much, but we can always add more resin. So I'm just going to go ahead and swirl this in. Try not to get too crazy. The more you swirl, the more bubbles you get. And after running this through the bubble machine, I really don't want to introduce a bunch of new bubbles, but sometimes a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do. Let's go ahead and add just a few drops of the violet. And this is really an experiment, so you'll have to play with the colors, and I think that's the most fun part about this is learning when you mix purples and blues what you get. I'm really going to put only 3 dots in there, 3 little drops. Sorry, I'm a little raspy today. I'm not a smoker, but I sound like I am. Let's go ahead and put some of the dark blue mica in there, and this is going to give it a nice pearlescent color to it. So I don't want to use too much mica, but I want to put in just enough to give it that pearlescent color. And of course in Florida, all these powdery things kind of tend to stick together because of the humidity, and it makes it a bear to get out of here sometimes. I hope everyone is having a marvelous day or evening, depending on what time you're watching. And I appreciate that you're spending your time with me. And of course, you can fast forward through all of the mixing part of this if you so choose. Sometimes I will do that to save time. These can be some lengthy videos when you're working with beginners and trying to make sure that you're doing a good teaching tutorial. I'm going to put a little bit more of the clear resin in here. It was a little bit darker than I wanted, and I think I need a little more anyway. So I want to make sure I have enough blue for coverage. And this is absolutely gorgeous. My room temperature is about 77 degrees. So when I mixed the resin, I didn't have to put it in a warm bath or anything like that. I stirred it for 5 minutes and then I put it in the bubble machine for 5 minutes. I'm also working on a level surface, and I have a pouring mat by Let's Resin down here. This thing is really great. It collects all of the spillage and drippage, and it makes it so easy to clean up after. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the turquoise, and I'm going to mix the spring green on the sky blue. I'm just going to put a little dab in here of each color. I'm going to actually put some dark blue in here too. Although I didn't say that at the beginning, but as I'm going along, my brain just starts to kind of think about what I need to do next. So let's go ahead and add some of the dark blue mica powder. And again, these are all by Let's Resin. I want to make sure I have enough color in here so that the wood doesn't show through. So I'm going to put a little bit of blue in here too, a little bit of blue dye. So if you don't use enough colorant, the wood will actually show through. And for beach sand, that's okay, but you don't want that for your ocean. So I'm going to do this a little bit different than the charcuterie board I did yesterday. And we're going to make this a little bit darker, even though the charcuterie board did come out okay. We'll go ahead and we'll mix this up, give this a good stir. Working on a level surface is really important when you're doing these Lazy Susans. So as I pour this, I'll kind of explain why. I mean, it's self-explanatory, but the Lazy Susan that I'm working with has edges, and I don't want the colored resin to run over the edges onto the wood grain. Now let's go ahead and do the sand. And this is just some regular old sand I got from Hobby Lobby. It's a white sand, which is why I love to work with it. The beaches in Naples, Florida, are a very white, beautiful sand. I am going to get some sand again from Marco Island and use that. And that can be my shtick, I guess. Buy my Lazy Susan with sand from Marco Island. Some of the shells I use are also from Barefoot Beach in Bonita Springs, Florida. So I do try to use stuff that is local, but sometimes you gotta buy it, unfortunately. All right, up next is the white, I think. That will be for the waves. So this Alumilite white pigment paste is what I typically use. Sometimes I use Silhouette's Resin Ocean White as well. Both are equally good, I think, but I'm going to hold off, I think, though. I'm going to let that get a little bit thicker. I'm going to let that resin set a little bit longer, get a little bit thicker. Let's move stuff out of the way here. And here's my board. And I've actually taken and put some of this monster liquid latex around the edges, and I let it dry. That way the resin will not stick to those outer edges. If I were to get some on there, if you have a latex allergy, be very careful. You don't want to get this on your skin if you have a latex allergy. And I want to keep the colors inside of the edges. I don't want them to go over the sides, so that's why I put the liquid latex on there. Let's start with the blue. I'm just going to pour the blue out here, and then I'll move on to the turquoise. Right now we're ready for the white. So I'll go ahead and mix up the white using the Alumilite white. Try saying that 10 times real fast. We only need a very small amount. There we go, just a dab. So I wanted this to get a little bit thicker before I went ahead and mixed it. And that will help make better cells and give the waves more of that, white color. Otherwise it can get a little bit translucent. You want them to stay a little more opaque. I'm going to apply some heat. My heat gun, I'm just going to get rid of some of the bubbles. I didn't get a lot of bubbles, but a few. The other thing I'm doing is by adding some heat, that will make the waves work a little bit better, and you'll be able to see the cells form, or cells will actually form more easily when the resin is warmer. So I'm blowing out some bubbles and also preparing the resin for the white. Just going to swirl in the colors a little bit, mix in the blue and the green. Now I'm going to pour the clear resin just below the turquoise line, and this is where I'll start adding the white pigment paste to make the waves. And it's okay if I get it on the margins or on the outside edges because it won't stick thanks to the latex. Thankfully, I don't have a latex allergy. Just wipe that off. All right, now it's time to do the wave. So I'm just going to take the white and run it along the turquoise line here. I'm actually going to put it all over the place, but this is where we're going to start. This is nice and thick, so this is going to blow out real well. Now I'm just going to add this on the bottom right below the clear line there. Some people say where I put the white up near the turquoise that will turn blue-green when I blow it out. Because I poured the resin actually pushed The clear resin pushed some of that blue-green color out, so it technically will not do that. But if you're worried about it, do your waves a day at a time. I'm actually even going to do one up here just to kind of show you it won't turn blue or green. And I'm not worried about that little drizzle either. So we'll get this all blown out nicely here in just a sec. Sometimes I will come back the next day and put another top coat and redo the waves. I'll just have to see how it turns out. So let's go ahead and grab the heat gun here. And I'm going to try to go at a flat angle. It's going to be really hard though because of the way this is shaped. And I'm not going to do this on high either. Normally I would do this on high, but I think I'm just going to do this on low for right now and see what I get. Okay, those turned out well. Now let's go ahead and add our sand. And I like to make this pretty thick, like really thick oatmeal. And that will push some of those rogue waves. Forgot to add the white mica powder and the glitter. It's very thick. And the beach will have a little bit of a sparkle with the glitter and the white mica powder. This is also how I keep the beach looking white. And it's going to push some of that white foam, if you will, out a little bit. I'm going to add another wave line here, right along the edge of my sand. I want there to be more cells along that shoreline there between the turquoise and the white. Just going to blow this out a little bit. Make sure I don't have any bubbles in here. This part I have to be very careful. I don't want to blow the sand up into the green, blue-green. Oh, those are making really nice cells too. That is turning out very lovely. Colors are fantastic. Love it. Okay, now that we're done blowing that out, I'm going to go ahead and I'll put some starfish, some shells, and some sea glass, and I will fill all that in. All right, let's hit this with the torch one more time, see if we can make some more cells. And then we will be done for the day. We'll let this set and we'll come back tomorrow and add another coat. So see you tomorrow. All right, I've mixed up the final batch of resin here, and I'm going to go ahead and pour this over our Lazy Susan. And I'm not only going to fill the Lazy Susan, but I'm also going to pull resin over the complete top of the Lazy Susan, so it'll have a shiny appearance all the way around. I did coat the bottom of this with the Monster latex so that any resin that might run over the sides will absolutely not stick to the bottom, and I won't have to scrape this off with a blade of some sort. So I'm just spreading this out, and I'm going to go ahead and try to evenly disperse this. I am working on a level surface, so it should be okay. I'm going to get every last drop out, and we'll go ahead and we'll spread this out over the entire surface here. All right, I believe I have every drop out of there. Let's go ahead and hit this with the torch and get rid of any bubbles that may have formed while we were pouring. Very hard to not have bubbles. And I think we did good. I think we've got them. Next, I'm going to go ahead and try to get a little bit more out of here, and I want to go ahead and spread the remaining resin around the margins here, around the wood part. So basically what I'm going to do is pull all of the resin from the center that is a little extra, and anything I have left in the cup here. And I want to make this all like one level if I can. I only mixed 4 ounces and I probably should have done 5. So I'm really going to have to stretch this out and hope that it doesn't shrink. So the goal is for this whole thing to be shiny. The wood, the center, everything. So I will go ahead and fast forward through that, and hopefully I will be able to do this without having to mix additional resin. Okay, I think that turned out pretty good. So now I'm just going to take my fingers and I'm going to run them around the sides of the Lazy Susan, because I want this to also be, oh goodness, excuse me, be shiny. A lot of talking today, long video. So I will take any extra resin that I have here, both in the cup and anywhere I can find it. I think I have enough now, and I'm just gonna go around and get resin all over the sides as well. All right, I have this completely covered. It looks good. We'll come back tomorrow and take a final look. All right, are you ready for the unveiling? Oh wow, it looks really good. I've got really good coverage there. The colors are phenomenal. Very lovely. All right. Cells got a little bigger than I wanted, probably from overspraying, but let's take a look at some other things I made. So this is a pendant that I made from the dark blue that was left over. Another pendant using the turquoise and the blue. Pink, this was just from the extra clear resin that I added some alcohol ink to. Again, I took the clear resin that was left over. This was from the first day, the clear resin from the first day. You'll recall I didn't have any resin left over the second day. This is from the deep blue resin that was left over. Sorry about the camera. Another pendant. This one turned out really pretty, from the deep blue. So I just poured this into some molds and put some charms on them. So here we have it, our lovely, lovely Lazy Susan. Thanks for joining me for this project, everybody. I know sometimes these get a little long. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I always appreciate the thumbs up and your feedback. And until I see you again soon, be safe, and we'll talk to you later.